values of ever needing that whole amount. I think it's built up to a good amount of money there for firearms. And I guess we need to find out if it can be used on equipment or not. My knowledge, it's a firearm CIP, that's what it's labeled at, is in Black Mountain.
Yeah, maybe it's fine to stay at 95, and we don't need to worry about building that up slowly. I don't know if you remember, but what was the cost to move to the SIGs? Is that like 2010, 12? It was a big chunk.
We moved to, when I started, we were at the SIG caliber, the 357 caliber. We went from the SIG firearms to the Glocks, which they did the trade-in value on that, and that was, during Brenda's term, I had never seen a budget in my life before that, so I don't know what that looked like. One of the big expenses was the rifles and shotguns, switching from the Mini 14s to the M&P 15s that we have now, and then the old Remington 870 models to the Benelli Novas. That was the huge expense, and that's when this, to my understanding, this account started. Because, hey, we need to plan for when this gets out there. I remember hearing that talk when I was a deputy in patrol, and I'm sure it was upwards to probably $8,000. It was a lot, I know that, but
I think it was 5 digits. 12 comes to mind, but don't quote me on that.
it could be more. I mean, you're
It was
looking at
quite a chunk.
An M&P 15. You're looking at $1,200.
Yeah, and if the plan now looks a lot smarter than that, but that is where memory says we need to keep this as a strong savings account. But yeah, if you guys don't need it, then we'll sit on the 95 and call that fine.
I was of my impression that all the money that we didn't spend in our firearms line item in our budget, my impression was that was rolling over into that account, and that's all I would request that we do, is just do that. If that's not the case, then that's fine, but.
You don't do that with line item budgeting for that account, okay?
Okay,
It's bottom line fund.
Yeah.
so it just rolls into our cash. If you don't spend it, it just stays in our cash.
Well, what happens with the CIPs? They stay in the CIP until you spend it. In the meantime, they earn interest, so when Doug gets interest allocation statements done from the bank, he has a spreadsheet that he has to formulate that divvy out the interest to all the CIPs. So as long as you don't spend it, you earn a little interest, whether it be 20, 30, 40, or 1,000, depending on the balance in your CIP. So it just sits there, so if you don't spend it, it sits there.
I have no request to put any more money in there at this time. If we switched all of our firearms right now, I think that with shopping around and doing the trade-in option, I don't foresee we can spend all that.
In the last 4 years, there hasn't been anything spent out of there since 15, 16. 17, 18, there was revenue, donations received, and then you spent some. And that's been it in the last 4 years. So it would have been prior to 15, 16 fiscal year.
You said this 628 pill fund, is that, did you figure that was low?
That's the low. I look at the last 4 year average revenues, and in 15, 16, that's what we got. We budgeted that for this year because we didn't know. And we got more, but each of the 3 years after that, it went up a little bit. But if you know you can make it work with 628, hopefully it's not gonna go lower than that.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to anticipate what White House will do
Yeah.
and how they'll calculate these formulas and change things again. They've made it so complicated that I don't know how anybody does it. So it could be more, like this year. We got a little more than we thought we were gonna get, so that was a good thing. Especially moving forward.
What else do we have? Anything else?
You guys got the tax levy requirement sheet. Just kind of take a look at that. There have been some more changes since this was done. Got some more values to fill in. The columns we want to worry about are the negatives. So we'll have to look at those and keep our eye on those. Did they guess low revenues, too much expenditures? Do we not have like a fourth quarter payment? So those are some of those things I will be looking at in more detail as time goes. The other thing, those that are milled accounts, if they're over 33%, which is that far right column, those can be reduced by a transfer out to their CIPs. Once we verify all the numbers are correct, all their revenues are right, their expenditures are correct, and any last little bit of claims that Michelle still works on for fiscal year. So 18-19. She's got some stragglers that she's still working on that came in Friday. So those will just be the ones that we look at and make sure that'll give you a snapshot kind of where we're sitting with our current, based on last year's revenues. It's better than in some of the years past at this point in time.
What is our money in the senior citizens transport? Where does that go to?
That goes to part of Rocky Mountain Development for their transportation.
So if we
That's Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels.
If we transfer that out, where does it transfer to?
They actually have a CIP account for the senior center.
Oh, and that's enrolled with the senior
Mm-hmm,
center,
for
okay.
the senior center. They wanted the Meals on Wheels separate from the dinner club,
Oh, okay, okay.
just as a reporting, tracking issue for them. And this includes the increase information that I just got Friday,
Okay.
where they increased that 2.4%. That's included in their expenses. So they're doing pretty good. But having that little extra in their CIP will help pay for any major stoves, dishwashers, refrigerators, in case the bathroom plumbing fails or some other major catastrophe. So that's a bonus for them.
will we have numbers Friday, we won't have numbers till Monday?
Well, they say anytime after the first, so if it's the first Monday after the first, it'll be Monday where we get them. However, the MCA statute reads that. I anticipate Monday the 5th. Last year they were early. Just means we start the clock sooner.
So if they're early, then the clock starts ticking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right off the bat, I'd lose a couple days
Like
because of the
last year.
weekend. Yeah. So, I might not let it take the best of me.
Do you have anything else then?
Not for budget stuff.
Okay. So we go to our 11:30 then, or, yes, Tim?
Just real quick clarification, Mr. Chairman, Jim Ravendall, Redoubt News. I'm looking at one sheet here with the budget fiscal draft for this, and it's showing the solid waste is at that $301,000 deficit, and yet it's still pending on the TBED on BOI loan. Would you clarify the acronyms and where that's at?
Board of Investment, what's the other one?
TBD is to be determined.
To be determined is the Board of Investments is the BOI.
And so that funding is there any figures on that loan amount at this point in time?
I believe she's working on the application right now, I don't know what the amount is.
Okay, I'm just wondering if it's for the 300,000 to bail that out, or if it's because there's also a budget discussions that were earlier about purchasing some equipment for the road department under Public Works, and I'm just not trying to make sure that we get this straightened in where that's all coming from and where it's going.
The solid waste fund doesn't have anything to do with the road department. Solid
Gotcha.
waste is an enterprise fund.
And one more clarification, I do understand there's a separation, but it's, anyway, coming from the Public Works, right? Okay. The other clarification is just, on this sheet that I have here, which shows the breakdown of the different funds. The solid waste is under an enterprise fund, but yet it shows here, under the solid waste, that there is, get the right page here, excuse me. I seen it here a few minutes ago. I'll ask after later, just for clarification. That way I don't hold you up. Thank you. My apologies for not having that question in order.
Anything else, Debbie? Okay, so we can go on to our 11:30. Do you know, is Aaron coming?
No.
No? So do we have,
The ones that you sent last week, they're the current ones, have the date changes on them, 2021
Well,
or?
the participation agreements that I brought are current and accurate. The bargain agreement for public safety is not. It's still all in the red. Laura sent me, she thought she had it, Mike thought he had it. They both have the same thing with the red. So Laura sent an email to Aaron saying we need the final right away.
Okay.
Road department is final. That draft that she sent is final.
So we could approve road
We could approve
and
road.
then get the sheriff's office ASAP.
Okay.
Here's the road original contract, and then the separate participation agreements for bargaining and non-bargaining employees.
so when we come back to the public safety, that'll be just the public safety?
Yes.
The health is already included in this one, right?
Yep,
With the same
yep.
terms?
Yep, same terms. They're almost identical. I mean, they each have their own special things, but as far as health insurance, cost of living increases, the bargaining, participation, and non-bargaining agreements are identical. Because it applies to the employees.
So, was the only thing that needed to be corrected was the dates?
So
And that
the
was
issue, and
fixed.
you were gone last week, but the issue that I asked about was on the health insurance agreement.
Mhm.
The date shows June 30th, 2018, sorry, July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2022, which appears to include the dates of both the sheriff's office as well as the road department's agreement. Because the sheriff's office agreement ends a year before that,
Yeah.
but the road one goes through 2022.
And I fixed the one for the sheriff.
Okay, so that was the question. I talked to Erin Foley last Wednesday on that issue. She wasn't sure, and I thought she was gonna connect with you. Do you know, had she since last Wednesday?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the only issue was whether there was a date discrepancy on the document.
And I did change the date down because I think that was my misunderstanding after all this, because I did miss some of the negotiations
Okay,
on the end date. So I fixed
Okay.
that
So
in the
we're-
sheriff's.
so we're, okay, so the road one, as long as it goes through June 30th, 2022,
And I think the front
then that
page,
would agree with the CBA, and I didn't have any other concerns.
and I
So the
think,
road department goes to June of 2021.
yes. What's the front of the bargaining agreement? That one I didn't.
This one here says June of 2022.
So then the participation agreement should be 2022 at the top
For the road one?
for the road one.
So this date here should be 2022.
Correct. We've been working on them so long, I've got the dates,
I know
Mixed
you
around.
got the other ones changed.
yeah.
Okay.
We've been working on the road
So-
one at
so-
the same amount of time, so how they were negotiating some of that, I missed out and didn't.
So both of these, this collective bargaining agreement, this one has 22 on it.
So I need to change the date on the
These other two
participation
both have
agreements to the
21 on.
22.
So do we
Should've
wanna
left it
change-
on that one.
So do we wanna change those before we sign them?
It's just on the front page, I believe, the date's wrong. I don't think it's
This
on the
one here
signature
is
page.
Is on the second page.
Okay, then I need to fix them all.
Okay.
Resign them.
So do we wanna go ahead and sign the collective bargaining agreement then and then just get these two corrected?
Sure.
I would ask to do them all at once.
Okay.
I don't mind waiting. Could you fix those and bring them back?
Mhm.
Would that be all right with you, Mike?
That'd be all right, yeah.
So all the road dates then are gonna say through June 30th, 2022, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Would you mind checking to see if there's any
Yeah,
need from
I'll check.
Aaron too? Thanks.
So since Mary, since you're here, we'll go ahead with yours.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So the first item that I want to talk about this morning is the approval to proceed with an intercap loan. I'd like to look at the Board of Investment intercap loan for the enterprise debt. So as you know, last June 30th, 2018, there was a $170,000 debt for the solid waste department. This year, I've given you the cash report as of the end of June of this year, and I believe all the claims are in for June, so we're looking at a negative $315,000. That includes the $170,000 debt that we had the end of last fiscal, of the 2018 fiscal year, along with the changes, improvements to canister sites and solid waste, as well as equipment repairs that we did not anticipate. So one thing that the Board of Investments loan program does is they do allow a loan for an enterprise debt. And those debt loans have a maximum term of 15 years. So what we're looking at there is a loan payment of approximately a little less than $22,000 a year for that, for 15 years. And what I will need, so I'm working on the loan application right now. I have some questions for Louise there. She's out until tomorrow. I did talk to her assistant this morning, and she couldn't answer the questions that I had. So I will talk to Louise tomorrow. Once I get that done, Debbie Kelly is helping me fill out portions of the loan application, showing our revenue and our debt for the last 3 fiscal years. And then there's some additional information that I need to get to them, as in the resolution that we have for the fee increase and our projected revenue budget. Once I get that done, I will be approaching you to get your approval on a resolution approving that loan. And I'll have to speak to Corey and get a document from him as well. So as you can see, I would like to do that. I think that that's the best way to resolve the enterprise debt rather than trying to use PILT money. I don't want to have to use PILT money if we don't have to. And I think that I can get this going before your final budget approval is made 30 days after valuations are in. So, just to let you know where I am in that process.
Mary, never mind. Never mind,
Okay,
thanks.
all right, you bet. The next item I have for you, it's just some, sorry. I wrote some notes on that for me.
Thank
So,
you.
you know, late spring, we turned over a dump truck, hauling some gravel, and Mako Claims determined that the repairs on that truck were more than what the truck was worth. So what we did is we, as part of the claim, we just settled the claim and took the cash value of what that truck was worth, and I had that put into our road CIP for now.
What was the payout on that?
It was $20,000. So right now I have $20,000 in the CIP for a dump truck replacement. I have had TJ looking at dump trucks in the area, what's available there. We've looked at a few. We found one over in Billings. It's a 2007 Sterling. It has 259,500 miles on it. It has a Cat engine. As you know, we have a Sterling, and this was built as a dump truck. It wasn't something that was converted. It wasn't a semi that was converted to a dump truck. It was built as a dump truck. We have a Sterling up at Solid Waste, have had really no major issues with it. This does have a Cat engine. I think that's something that the road department would prefer. And their request is to go ahead and make this purchase. I have looked at my budget for roads, and I would need the $20,000 out of the CIP for that, along with another $23,000. So the company that's selling this told us that they would give it to us for $43,000.
Nice.
And we're in a position now that we're looking at hauling some gravel on some of these roads that we're doing maintenance on right now. And we could use the additional dump truck. So my request today for you is to approve the expenditure from the road budget for the purchase of this truck.
I would move to grant you that authority, Mary.
Okay.
This is a good plan. You have a strong CIP, strong budget.
Okay.
You haven't looked at this truck yet?
I have not. TJ actually did go over to Billings and look at it. He drove it, used the dump box on it, said that it's in good shape.
I'm looking to see how many yard boxes that, did it say? I'm just guessing, looking at it, it's probably close to 12.
Yeah, that's what I would say, it's probably a 12-yard box. Tire size is normally what we use on it. So this would be the newest.
Is there a second to the motion?
So I guess I just wanna make sure you got 20 from insurance. You got another 20 in your CIP?
23? Yes.
Oh, right now.
Oh, yes, I have 20 in the CIP. The insurance money went into the CIP directly, yes.
And where's the balance coming from?
I have, so I ran a cash report this morning. My cash balance, ending balance for roads was 185. So I do have money in my budget for that. And I will make some adjustments, I'll have to make some adjustments in expenditures for my expenditure budget to move things around. I don't recall if I put that in there or not, this expenditure in there. Honestly, I don't remember. But I do have it, the CIP is strong for roads.
What's this lift gate? Is this a different style lift gate on the back? Were they using it for paving or something? Do you know? I'm just curious.
I don't know. This truck came out of Wyoming, and it was a one owner.
Did you have any other commitments for your CIP?
You know, perhaps, you know, I was looking at building a shop for the graders this year. I'd like to get those graders under cover this year. Have a couple of options with that. Looking at a pole barn, just getting a pole barn up with doors, doing probably 5 large bays that the graders would fit in, and have some additional bays for other equipment, mosquito and weeds, in addition to some of the other road equipment that we have. Thinking kind of in advance of something like that with the building, not being concerned about, at least at this point in time, water. I would like electricity in there, but I think that that would be somewhat inexpensive compared to a brand new installation, because we do have a pole there that we can take it from. So the distance wouldn't be so great if I put a shop. I'm looking at putting a shop on the north end of the yard there for equipment.
All right. Did we still have some stuff to clean up from Deep Creek that was committed from that? Or not?
No, I did get an email from Amber this morning, but I haven't opened it yet, Daryl.
Okay.
I know that we were out there with that. I would have to talk to Debbie as to where that came from, because we wanted it to come out of the FY19 budget and not this upcoming FY20.
Right.
So I can check with her and see where we are with that. She's been the one dealing with Amber on some of those final numbers.
All right. Good enough. Oh, no, you need a truck, you're down a truck, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I will second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to allow Mary to purchase the 2007 Sterling from Billings Truck Shop of Billings. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries.
All right, and then the last item I have for you, we did talk about this a couple of months ago, looking at getting a truckload of culvert material, because of the cost savings that we can realize by buying it in volume. And then thinking, trying to have some foresight in terms of dealing with these unpermitted approaches that we have in the county. So I contacted Core and Main, they're who I contacted first, and to get a price on culvert. What you're gonna see there is mainly 18-inch culvert. But then I looked at a few other culvert items. We need some 48-inch culvert to do some work down on Lightning Barn. The 36 and the 24-inch culvert is for installation down in the Crooked Valley on Lone Mountain, 437, Muddy Lane, Hosfeld Lane, and what am I forgetting? Muddy, Hosfeld, Lone Mountain, 437.
Will you do anything on Ferret with this?
It'll be potentially the intersection of Ferret and, yeah. So those costs are significant for the larger culvert there.
So that's where a majority of the 36 and 24 is
Yes,
going?
yes. So, you know, as you may recall, I did submit a grant application to FEMA
Mhm.
for hazard mitigation. It was approved by Montana. They sent it to the national headquarters. But it's not within the scope of that particular grant that they were looking at. We're gonna resubmit that this fall and hope to get funding for that. It was over $1 million to do the work down in that area. What I wanna do is I wanna get this culvert installed, increase the elevations where we can, and to mitigate some of the issues that we've had the last several years down there. If we can, you know, prevent additional damage to the road there, the roads in those areas, that would be awesome. Mitigate those damages to the landowners. The larger culverts that we're looking at in that proposal are concrete box culverts. And those are really expensive. I would just as soon get some assistance funding those.
Mhm. Well, I know that'll take care of a lot of the areas
Yes.
anyway.
Yes, it will.
And is the plan with some of the smaller culvert, then that would help some of these people with the
Yes.
driveway issues that we're
Yes.
having, right?
Exactly. And they can buy the culvert from us at our price.
At a cost?
Yes.
Okay. So we can save them some money.
Yes.
Where are these 60-inch ones going?
Down on Lightning Barn at, so you're down, I can't pronounce his name. Spatzeret?
Spatzer,
Yeah, Spatzeret,
okay.
down there. Yeah, we need to replace, I think we have a 3-foot culvert there right now. We need to replace that, the larger culvert.
Kind of unrelated, just it jogged my memory, which is part of Lightning, is it Lightning Barn where we're gonna go across the road from the,
Yes,
do we decide not to use culvert, right? We're gonna use
correct.
the engineered
Yes,
dip, I guess, for a
yes.
better word.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, they
It's
call it,
More
they
technical.
call it a
now.
Kelly hump.
There you go.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. How are we doing with that? Is that
Sean has been working with Corey on that.
Okay.
Hasn't gotten back to me yet
Okay.
on that, but we should be able to get that work done this fall.
Okay,
yes.
all right,
And we
So-
need to get it done this fall.
we do, just, so we're ready for next spring.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So Mary, I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Uh,
Go ahead, no,
Either one.
no, go.
I was just gonna say these culverts and your plan with it, as well as the dump truck, both will allow your department to do more for people. We hear a lot
Yes.
on roads. I see both as an investment in the citizens, so,
Mhm.
I probably should have waited, but I'm ready to make a motion unless you
Yeah.
want me to wait.
Yeah, no, I guess my only question, are we seeing more and more people that are following the policy of getting
Yes,
approach approval?
I have been in the last, in the last
Okay.
couple months, yes.
Okay, good,
I have more than I had last year this time.
all right, perfect.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Do you wanna make this motion since I waived the last one?
Sure, I'll move that we approve the culvert purchase.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and approved, made and seconded to approve the Core Main bid proposal for culverts, a total of $50,160.99. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Did you get the email I forwarded this morning about the Barca?
Yes, I did,
Okay.
I did. Would you like me to present that next?
Yeah. It'd be the 12th.
Yes. Okay, I will, I'll be sure that I'm on the agenda for that. All right, thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Mary.
Do you have a question, Tim? Just,
Just check, Mary, I found the question, I was trying to get clarification on a little bit earlier. On the 5410 fund, it shows a cross line, and I know this is a working document, it's not final, but what it shows here that we have before us this morning is a $301,646,000 deficit in that fund, along with, it shows two different sources of revenue. One is the $946,852, which is under the, what we understand is the enterprise fund, which is not taxed, which has been stated in the middle. And then the next one over is property tax revenues, which is $2,800. So that's the clarification I'm trying to get straight, so we know where this revenue is coming from. The 940 or 940,000, I'm guessing is coming from the enterprise fund that's charged to each property owner. The other part of it is $2,800, which I have no idea what,
I don't-
but it's listed under a property tax revenue.
Okay, I don't know what report you're looking at. I can.
Draft, again,
Can I
don't get me wrong, it's a
Can I
draft.
see
I'm
So-
just trying to get clarification on where that's at. And then what is the actual current approved figure on the IBD or BR5? I can't remember acronym, sorry.
You'll have to ask Debbie, because I have no idea. Honestly, I don't know. My cash balance, so we added in, so the cash balance that I gave the commissioners this morning is a report I printed out this morning.
And we
I'm
haven't
not
seen
sure,
that.
I'm not sure on this, Tim. You'll have to ask Debbie how that's figured. I'm not an accountant.
Well,
So-
just going by with what is there, trying to
Yeah.
get clarification, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
So what is the current IBD loan? What was going after the amount?
What I have right now for my cash balance is minus 315,687.49.
Thank you.
You bet.
And that's BOI, I apologize for acronyms.
Yeah.
task order between the Department of Health, Human Services, and Broadwater County Public Health for public health emergency preparedness.
This is boilerplate, we do it every couple of years, it's on the agenda because this is not the revolving annual one. This is a really good grant from the state, and so I move that we approve it.
No, second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the task order with the Department of Public Health and Human Services. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
And I think Teresa's kind of the one that heads that up, right?
It is public health.
Mm-hmm.
Much of what she does, it's the FEP. When she talks about FEP, that's what this one is.
And here we have another one here. This is the task order that covers the period from July 1st, 2019 to July 30th, 2026. Office of Public Health Systems Improvement. This is a task order for a grant for $10,000.
I think that was one that Teresa just recently put in for, to receive. Is that right? That's what she talked about at our,
I think so.
Is
department head
this
meeting.
for the respite care? Or was that a different one she talked about?
This is a different one.
That's a different one, okay.
Yeah.
If it's for multiple years, we should put it on the agenda as well. If it's after we
This
do,
one just goes from September 1st through August 31st of 2020.
oh, I'm sorry, I thought I said 26. Yeah, then what we do is that, like this other one, a big overarching multi-year contract, and then every year it's just a renewal.
Yeah.
That's what this is. I would move that we sign it.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, second. I remember reading it this morning. Okay.
Motion been made to approve the size of the contract between Broadwater County and the Department of Public Health and Human Services. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Did you get those pages? Okay. Debbie's back.
Oh, you got, okay, so let's go ahead with those then.
Did you get anything from Erin?
No.
Shoot.
So these are the,
For the road.
this is the collective bargaining agreement between Broadwater County and Teamsters Local Union 2, the agreement for participation of non-bargaining unit employees, and participation agreement for the road department. Is there a motion to approve and sign?
I would move that we approve the CBA for the road department.
Well, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the CBA for the road department. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
next one we have is the Montana Teamsters Contractors Employees Trust Participation Agreement for the Road Department.
I'll move that we assign the petition, application agreement for the road department.
I'll second.
Motion been made, second to assign said agreement, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And the last one is the Montana Teamsters Contract Employees Trust Agreement for participation of non-bargaining unit employees.
I'll move we sign that one as well.
A second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the agreement of participation of non-bargaining unit employees, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is that particular one, the one where it talks about insurance policy that goes through for non-union employees?
It's all non-bargaining unit employees who meet the eligibility requirements must be reported unless, yeah, so it's non-union eligible for all the employees, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see, we can move on to the 12:45.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Interdisciplinary team setup letters, Corey. Explain what we got going on.
So, this is just a short discussion, in fact, Brandon might wanna come up and he can tell more about it as well. So, in statute, and most counties have this, I'm not sure, I mean, there's probably a county out there, one or two that doesn't, but there is an entity called an interdisciplinary school safety team. And, I came in, I mean, it was operating long before I got here, so I kind of fell in on it. And generally what we do is we meet once a month with officials from the school district, counselors, the juvenile probation, the child protective services with Department of Health and Human Services, some counseling and a service that we use out of Helena called Aware Inc. And they do a lot of our, they do interviews for children that are involved in either a victim or a witness of a crime. It's called a child forensic interview. And then myself, the victim advocate, Brooke Dolan, and then law enforcement officers. And generally what we do is we just, as a team, work on either identifying if there's something that comes up where there's a kid that's showing some kind of at-risk behaviors, and sometimes, you know, when a counselor's talking to them, that ends up resulting in some kind of a disclosure of a crime or something that's happened to them. And so we basically, as a team, just work on managing kind of how to respond. There are many things out of that do end up being maybe it leads to a criminal case. There are things that come out of that that lead to maybe a child protective services getting involved with a local family. There are some things that lead to additional counseling services, and there's some that just kind of lead to kind of behavior management of how they're dealt with in the school. Ordinarily, you get a kid that's really, really sticking out in school. Usually there's something going on at home. That's kind of a cause. So this is a team that meets monthly. It's been fairly informal. This legislative session, a bill was passed which just modified the statute a little bit. It did a couple things. First of all, it put it as a duty of the county commissioners to ensure that such a team exists. I suspect that happened because there was probably some county somewhere that didn't have one, and maybe a problem was discovered, and they said, oh, well, geez, if we'd had this team in place, maybe we would have discovered this a year ago. I don't really know. It came up out of the blue. I spent a fair amount of time with Mako on the issue during the legislative session and other county attorneys, and nowhere in any county is our county commissioners a member of the team. And the language doesn't really say that, but it does say it is a duty to the county commissioners to ensure that such a team is formed. And then it did formalize a little bit more in terms of the actual documentation that needs to be done. So I've been working with some other county attorneys and the Attorney General's office, and I thought Mako had kicked around a draft resolution. I've heard about it, I've never actually seen it. So my goal is to get that thing and to present to you a resolution just formalizing and announcing the formation of it, even though it's existed for long before I came.
Okay.
And then secondly, it does have some more formalized agreement documents that need to happen between the school personnel, the child protective services personnel, juvenile probation, our law enforcement, and my office. So there might be some other entity involved. So I think what we'll end up doing is some kind of a interlocal agreement or something that we have everyone sign that'll also include a non-disclosure agreement. Now, we have in the past done non-disclosure agreements. We usually do one a year where everyone that's attending signs it. And because it's confidential information unless it leads specifically to something that might be disclosed in court as a part of a case. So that's the short version of it. Brandon, do you want to add anything to that?
No, it is a very good group that gets together and, keeps everybody in the loop of what's going on, and communication's great. I don't really have anything else to add.
Okay. And so really, the function of it is just information sharing, because there's times when, say, I'm working on, maybe Brandon's office is working on an investigation, I'm aware of it, but nobody else is aware of it because we haven't told them, right? And then something will come out of that where there's some reported behavior or an admission or a disclosure at school if so-and-so is doing something to me. And we go, well, we need to know that because it affects what we're doing, and so then that allows us to set up interviews, et cetera. So it's basically become an information sharing process. But coming out of that, there's all kinds of outcomes. There's no action other than keep trying to help this kid. Sometimes there's been some donations to families that have come out of it for clothing or food. I think there was once a donation to pay someone's heating bill. So there's some things that can come out of it that aren't a case, but they are kind of some positive steps. But I've had several criminal cases that have come out of, I guess the discussions were contemporaneous with other things that were going on, so that's a short version of it.
Sure, has the superintendent of schools always been a part of this team?
Yeah, well,
Or is
the
that
district superintendent,
Okay.
This is the first time I've seen where the
So it's
county,
county,
where
yeah.
Doug's office would be a part of it. So
Okay,
I think I'm gonna leave that up to him and Mr. Wilkerson to work that out.
okay,
But, so Eric Wilkerson is a part of all of them,
okay.
so. So like I said, I suspect what happened is, in statute it says there is such an entity and these people may do it. There wasn't a thing that said you shall establish one, and I think that's what happened.
All right.
Okay? So I'll get documents to you as soon as I can on formation, et cetera.
Okay, thanks for it.
We probably won't have it formally, as far as the agreement among everybody, signed until the school year starts again.
See, there's a deadline though, right?
There's a deadline for yours, I don't know what the deadline is. Actually, I think I sent you the statute, but
So are all these activities in this solely negotiated or initiated through the school, or can they come through law enforcement in your office?
everyone that's part of it can bring stuff in. We've had stuff from a social worker that comes in that the school didn't know about, or the school folks tell us something that nobody else knew about, or sometimes we have a report, and so we say, hey, what's going on with this kid? And they're like, oh, man, all kinds of stuff. You know, but we raised it because we knew about it from an investigative point of view. So that's the whole point, is anyone that's participating can raise an issue, and everyone else can then kind of work on it.
And I see that, Laura, that you sent the letters out already, is that right?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, what did I see? I thought I seen letters go out to,
The draft was sent to you
yeah,
and to Mike,
okay,
so that you guys could offer edits.
okay,
And that we could go ahead and sign them today so that we can send them off as is in our Mako instructions.
right,
Yep,
Okay.
so that's what that is.
okay,
And the letters are for all the people in point number 2.
Yep.
Directions.
mhm,
So, no, they were sent to you guys for edits. and
okay,
to-
okay, that's, okay.
Okay. So I sent an email to all of you last week with the statute, asking that I could see what these draft letters were, because I'd heard they were out there, I've not seen them or read them, so.
Okay. So we still don't have the draft resolution from Mako?
No, from Corey.
Well, I-
We do need that, but we need to do this first,
Okay.
because if you look on timeline
Right.
and number 3,
Mhm.
it tells us what, and we have resolutions already from starting other boards. But if you look at the instructions from these two, it tells us what needs to be in the resolution.
Okay.
So as soon as we get that, then we advertise for 2 weeks and then we adopt it officially. But we have to have all these folks on board first,
Okay.
or at least responding, or giving them an opportunity to respond.
So I guess it would've been helpful if I'd gotten that. That was what I was asking for. I heard there was something floating around, I haven't seen it. So
Okay.
could I get copies of those?
Oh, absolutely. Didn't you bring some, Mike? Was that what's on the table there?
No, that's the, Iron Mass letter.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see, I didn't think I made a copy of
I
that.
guess I misunderstood you, Corey, I thought, well, I was looking for a resolution.
Okay.
But
That's what-
but
yeah,
there
that's
is,
what- that's what I
you can
thought.
look at this,
So what is Mako sent?
um.
And what's the,
do you have-
what's the
do you have a
deadline that they're
copy
working
of
on?
it or no?
I have my notes on it.
Here. That's the letter that they want to send to everybody.
And that's the letter that's here.
Yeah.
You can read it if you want, Mike.
We need
Yeah.
to, Says, Dear Val, this is the letter to Val, all of these people. The implementation of Senate Bill 35 from the 2019 legislative session requires the Board of County Commissioners of each county ensure the formation of a county or regional interdisciplinary child information and school safety team. Your agency or organization is one of the several statutory named entities that may be authorized to a designee for forming the team by the commission. If your agency would like representation on the interdisciplinary team, please submit the name of your authorized representative immediately. The commission will appoint the team utilizing the name submitted by your agency and the name submitted by the other eligible entities. So is there, we need a motion to sign all these letters?
I think so. I think it's not a bad move to have that on the record. Even though it's legally required.
Mhm.